Hello, my friend. It is wonderful to have you here. Today, our story is about a boy who became one of the fastest footballers in the world. But there was one dream he could never reach: by running. Now let me take you back to 2012, to a small bedroom in Bondy, just outside Paris. Look at the walls. Every wall is covered with Cristiano Ronaldo posters. Inside this room, a 14-year-old boy is lying on his bed. In his hands is a football. In his head is a dream. The boy grew up in the shadow of his hero. One day, he would have everything he had ever dreamed of. Except the one thing he wanted most. Some dreams cannot be rushed. This is the story of Kylian Mbappé. Kylian was born in Paris on December 20th, 1998. 5 months earlier, France had won the World Cup. It was the first time in history. Zinedine Zidane scored 2 goals in the final. The whole country was still celebrating when Kylian came into the world. His family lived in Bondy, a small town just outside Paris, so from the very beginning, Bondy was his home. His father, Wilfred, came from Cameroon. His mother, Faiza, was born in France. Her family came from Algeria. Faiza was a professional handball player. She played in the top French league for many years. Bondy is not a wealthy town. Many families came there from other countries, hoping for a better life. But Kylian would later describe his home very differently. In Bondy, we do not have a lot of money, but we have dreams, because dreams do not cost anything. Dreams are free. His father was a football coach at a small local club. It was called AS Bondy. So Kylian first touched a football when he was very young. The pitch was like a second home. At 6 years old, he joined the youth team. Something unusual happened. The coaches quickly realized Kylian was too good for boys his own age, so they moved him up to play with 10-year-olds. He was still the best player on the pitch. His youth coach was a man named Antonio Riccardi. Riccardi had coached hundreds of children in his life. When he talked about Kylian, he said something remarkable. Kylian was the best kid I ever coached. Probably the best I will ever coach. Riccardi remembers one game. It was a local match. AS Bondy was losing 1-0 at halftime. The dressing room was quiet. The players were upset. Then, the small boy stood up. "Do not worry," he said. "I will get the ball. I will score." The team went back onto the pitch. Kylian got the ball and burst forward. He skipped past the first defender, then the second, then the third. Soon there was only the goalkeeper left. Kylian stayed calm and rolled the ball into the net. He had done exactly what he promised. He was 10 years old. By the age of 11, scouts from Europe's biggest clubs were coming to Bondy. Real Madrid was watching. Chelsea was watching. Bayern Munich was watching. Nobody had seen a young French talent like this since Zinedine Zidane. Can you imagine what it felt like to be that boy? A small child in a small town. Suddenly, the biggest clubs in the world are knocking on your door. In late 2012, just before Kylian's 14th birthday, Real Madrid invited him to visit their training ground. His parents said yes. A special trip. A training session at the biggest club in the world. The family flew to Madrid. They arrived at the training center. In the parking lot, someone was waiting for them. A tall man was standing quietly by his car, hands in his pockets, a warm smile waiting before the words did. It was Zinedine Zidane. The greatest French footballer of all time had come in person to meet a 13-year-old boy from Bondy. Zidane pointed at the passenger seat of his car. He offered to drive Kylian over to the training pitch. The boy climbed in. He was so nervous he could barely speak. Finally, he looked at Zidane and asked a simple question. "Do I need to take off my shoes?" Zidane laughed. "Of course not," he said. "Come on, get in." Kylian sat there in silence as Zidane started the car. He thought to himself, "I am just Kylian from Bondy. This cannot be real. I must still be sleeping on the plane." That was Kylian. And perhaps that is still who he is. Zidane drove him to the training pitch and gave the boy a personal tour of the facilities. Kylian watched the first team train. Then he met Cristiano Ronaldo, the man whose posters covered every wall of his bedroom. Someone lifted a camera. Kylian stood beside his hero and smiled like a child on Christmas morning. Real Madrid wanted him. They opened every door. They offered everything. But when the family flew home to Bondy, Wilfred and Faiza said no. They were worried. At 13 years old, Kylian might disappear inside a club full of extraordinary talent. His mother wanted him to grow up like a normal child. His father wanted to protect him. So Real Madrid would have to wait. Neither Kylian nor Real Madrid knew they would have to wait another 12 years. At 13, Kylian left home for the first time. He joined AS Monaco, one of France's best clubs for developing young talent. He moved through the youth teams faster than anyone expected. In his first 5 games at under-19 level, he scored 10 goals, 2 in every match. He was promoted to the reserve team, then almost immediately to the first team. On December 2nd, 2015, Monaco played at home. In the 88th minute, the coach looked to the bench. A skinny teenager pulled off his training jacket, number 33 on his back. Mbappé was 16 years and 347 days old. He had just become the youngest first-team player in the history of AS Monaco. The record had belonged to Thierry Henry, one of the greatest French forwards the game had ever seen. Mbappé did not celebrate. He did not buy a sports car. He did not move into a mansion. Monaco offered him a small room in the training center. Just a small room, like any young player. Mbappé later said something people would remember. "Footballer does not rhyme with Ferrari. I have no car. It is not a big deal." Then Monaco unleashed him. In the 2016 to 2017 season, he scored against Manchester City. He scored against Borussia Dortmund. He scored 15 league goals. Monaco won their first French title in 17 years. They reached the Champions League semi-finals. All of Europe was watching this boy from Bondy. In August 2017, Paris Saint-Germain changed football history. They paid 180 million euros for Kylian Mbappé. He was still only 18 years old. The most expensive teenager football had ever seen. He still did not have a car. He still did not want one. The next summer, the World Cup came to Russia. Mbappé was 19 years old, the youngest star in the French squad. France's first big test came in the round of 16. Their opponent was Argentina, the Argentina of Lionel Messi. The match was played on June 30th, 2018. It became one of the greatest World Cup matches ever played. 7 goals, constant drama, and in the middle of it all, a 19-year-old boy who would not stop running. Mbappé's first moment came in the 13th minute. He picked up the ball inside his own half. Then he ran. 60 meters. An Argentina defender tried to grab him, then another tried to stop him. Nothing worked. The only way to stop him was to bring him down. Penalty. France scored. In the second half, Argentina came back to lead 2-1. A French defender equalized. 2-2. Then Mbappé took over. In the 64th minute, he slipped a low shot under the goalkeeper. 3-2. 4 minutes later, he was through again. This time, he fired the ball high into the net before the goalkeeper could react. 4-2. Argentina pulled one back late, but it was too late. France won 4-3. Argentina and Messi were out. Mbappé had just joined a very small club, a teenager scoring twice in a World Cup knockout match. Before him, only one player had ever done it, Pelé, in 1958. When journalists asked him about it, he was calm. "It is flattering to be the second one after Pelé. But let us put things in context. Pelé is another category." France beat Uruguay. They beat Belgium. On July 15, 2018, in Moscow, they met Croatia in the final. By the 65th minute, France were leading 3-1. But Croatia would not stop attacking. One more goal from them, and the final could turn. Then the ball rolled to Mbappé, 20 meters from goal. No backlift, no hesitation. His right foot swept through the ball almost gently. The shot stayed low. It skipped once on the wet grass, past the diving goalkeeper, into the corner. 4-1. The final was over. France won 4-2. At that moment, Kylian was only 19 years old, a world champion. No teenager had scored in a World Cup final since Pelé in 1958. 60 years. Nobody that young, until Mbappé. The next day, Pelé sent him a message. Just one line. "Welcome to the club." Then Mbappé did something that shocked the football world. Every French player received money for playing at the World Cup. They also received a bonus for winning it. In total, about $500,000. Mbappé gave all of it away. Every last dollar. He donated the money to a French charity that helps sick and disabled children play sports. He did not keep a single cent. When journalists asked him why, his answer was simple. "I did not need to be paid. I was there to defend the colors of my country." A 19-year-old boy from Bondy, a world champion, a global star, and he gave away $500,000 to children who could not run. To understand what made Mbappé different, you have to understand his speed. His feet were fast, his mind was faster. In 2019, Paris Saint-Germain played AS Monaco. Mbappé was on the pitch against his old club. He picked up the ball near the halfway line. He ran past 2 defenders. He entered the penalty area. He scored. The GPS tracker on his shirt measured his top speed during that sprint. 38 kilometers per hour. Watch a defender try to catch him. Watch the gap between them grow. Not shrink. Grow. A grown man in full sprint becoming smaller in the frame. Let me put that number in perspective. The fastest human being alive is Usain Bolt. His top speed is about 44 kilometers per hour. Mbappé is only 6 kilometers slower than Bolt. But Mbappé is not a sprinter. He does this while controlling a ball, while avoiding defenders, while thinking about where to shoot. At Paris Saint-Germain, this speed made him unstoppable. He became the club's all-time leading scorer with over 250 goals. He was the fastest footballer alive. But even the fastest man in the world cannot outrun time. In just a few minutes, we will stand inside a stadium in Qatar, the biggest football match of the 21st century. A boy from Bondy against his own teammate from Paris. 3 goals in one final, and still tears at the end. December 18th, 2022, Lusail Stadium in Qatar. The World Cup Final. France against Argentina. Mbappé against Lionel Messi. 2 teammates from Paris Saint-Germain. 2 of the best players in the world. 1 trophy. The first half was a disaster for France. Argentina scored a penalty, then a beautiful counterattack. 2-0 at halftime. Mbappé barely touched the ball. In 70 minutes, he had only 20 touches, only one touch inside the box. Argentina was already preparing to celebrate. The commentators were already writing the story. Messi's dream, Messi's coronation, Messi's World Cup. Then, in the 80th minute, everything changed. France won a penalty. Mbappé stepped up. The whole world stopped breathing. Cool, calm. He sent the goalkeeper the wrong way. 2-1. 97 seconds later, Mbappé did something impossible. A high pass reached him. He took one touch. He swung his right foot at the ball as he was falling to the ground. It was a volley. From an impossible angle. The ball flew into the far corner, past the diving goalkeeper. 2-2. In 97 seconds. The stadium exploded. France had come back from the dead. Argentina looked broken. Messi looked scared for the first time in the tournament. The game went to extra time. Messi scored again. 3-2 Argentina. Argentina were seconds away from winning the World Cup. But Mbappé would not stop. In the 118th minute, France won another penalty. Mbappé stepped up again. Same run, same cool head. He sent the goalkeeper the wrong way one more time. 3-3. 3 goals in a World Cup final. Nobody had done this in 56 years. The last one was Geoff Hurst, for England, in 1966. The match went to penalties. Mbappé scored his again. Argentina scored theirs. When Argentina's last penalty went in, the trophy belonged to Messi. France had lost. The final image of that night was not Messi lifting the cup. It was Kylian, sitting alone on the bench. His number 10 shirt pulled over his head, his face hidden. He had scored 3 goals in a World Cup final. He had done what no man had done for over half a century. He had won the Golden Boot with 8 goals. He was the top scorer. He was the hero of the match. And still, sitting on that bench in Qatar, he was a boy who had lost. Kylian had learned something that his speed could not teach him. Sometimes you can do everything right, and still lose. Here is the strangest thing about Kylian Mbappé. He is the fastest footballer on the planet, 38 kilometers per hour. Nobody can catch him. But he had to wait 7 years to arrive at Real Madrid. 7 years. For a man who moves at 38 kilometers per hour. In 2017, Real Madrid wanted him. Mbappé chose Paris Saint-Germain. Real Madrid was patient. They would wait. In 2021, they offered nearly 200 million euros. Paris Saint-Germain did not even reply. Then came 2022. Mbappé's contract was ending. Everybody in the world believed he was going to Madrid. Even Mbappé himself. The newspapers were already writing the story. Real Madrid was preparing the announcement. Then, at the last moment, Mbappé changed his mind. Inside the Mbappé home, a war began. His mother wanted him to go to Madrid. His father wanted him to stay in Paris. 2 parents, 2 dreams, 1 son sitting between them. In the end, he stayed in Paris. He signed a new contract with Paris Saint-Germain. Real Madrid was furious. Their president felt betrayed. Some voices at the club said, "Enough. Move on. Forget about him." Meanwhile, in Bondy, someone walked up to the huge painting of Mbappé on the wall of his old neighborhood. The one his community had painted years before. The one showing him as a boy with a dream. They had a can of paint in their hand, and they painted 4 words across his face. "Mbappé, you are dead." Some of the people who once loved him now felt angry. Newspapers called him confused, a boy who could not choose. The fastest man in football could not run away from time. Then, one summer morning in 2024, the wait finally ended. Mbappé's contract with Paris Saint-Germain expired. This time, there was no last-minute change. This time, there was no return. Real Madrid announced the news that had been coming for 12 years. Kylian Mbappé was a Real Madrid player. He wrote to the world, "A dream come true. So happy and proud to join the club of my dream. Nobody can understand how excited I am right now." Now he was standing at the same training ground, not as a visitor, as a Real Madrid player, wearing the white shirt he had dreamed about since childhood. The boy who had covered his bedroom walls with Ronaldo posters, he was now going to wear the same number 9, the number Ronaldo once wore in his first season at Real Madrid. Can you imagine walking into that room? The boy from 12 years ago is watching, and the man he became knows every wall by heart. His first season was strong, 43 goals in all competitions, top scorer in the Spanish league, top scorer in all of Europe. In the calendar year of 2025, he scored 59 goals for Real Madrid. He tied a record set by Cristiano Ronaldo himself. The dream was not just true, it was working. My friend, one thing before I continue. This video is being made while the 2026 World Cup is still happening. By the time you watch this, the story may have already changed, but some moments have already been written into history. Let me tell you about them. On June 30th, 2026, France played Sweden in the round of 16. The stadium was just outside New York City. The heat was cruel, but France was flying. Mbappé was the captain now. In the final minute of the first half, a short corner reached him near the byline. A Swedish defender stood right in front of him. Mbappé did something small. A crossover step, one foot behind the other. The defender leaned the wrong way. Mbappé was already gone. He fired a diagonal shot inside the far post. 1-0. Mbappé did not run to the crowd. He ran straight to his coach. His coach was Didier Deschamps. A few days earlier, Deschamps had flown back to Europe. His mother had passed away. He had missed a match to be at her funeral. Now Mbappé ran to him and held him. After the game, Mbappé said something simple. He knows he will never be alone with us. France won 3-0. That afternoon, Mbappé broke a record that had stood for many decades. He now has more goals in the knockout stages of the World Cup than any player in history. The tournament is not finished. Mbappé may lift the trophy, or he may lose again, like in Qatar. Nobody knows. But one thing is already certain. Kylian Mbappé is the greatest French goal scorer who has ever lived. And he is still running. Today in Bondy, on the side of an apartment block, there is a huge painting on the wall. A young boy is lying on a bed, hugging a football, dreaming. Above him, rising like a vision, is the same boy, grown up, wearing the number 10 shirt of France. At the bottom, one sentence in French. Love your dream, and it will love you back. 20 years ago, a small boy covered his walls with posters of his hero. Today, other small boys look up at walls, covered with posters of him. My friend, the fastest man in football could not sprint to his dream. He had to run, and he had to wait. The biggest dreams always ask for both. So keep running when you can. Keep waiting when you must. Dreams are patient. They know the way home. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Now I want to ask you something. Do you think Mbappé will win the 2026 World Cup with France? Leave a comment and share your thoughts. I read every one. Until next time, take care of yourself, and when night falls, come back to HitoCast.